Interested in buying your first house or condo but don't know where to start? Looking to purchase your first investment but unsure of the steps? This video will break down the entire process of buying a house in Canada. Although it's specifically geared for first-time buyers, the process is actually the same for any buyer. Also, there'll be minor variances between each province, but the process is generally the same. This list will seem very similar to a video I released called 8 Steps to Your First Real Estate Investment, so obviously some points will be repeated. Please thumbs up the video and subscribe to the channel for more content about finance, investing, and real estate. Step 1. Gain an understanding of what it means to be a homeowner. That's why you're here. You're new and you need to know what you're getting yourself into. How much do houses cost in your desired area? Are your expectations realistic? Which location do you want? What area is good for kids? What area is good for schools? Do you want to be closer to downtown and potentially get a smaller place? Or do you want to be further away and get a bigger place for the same price? Do you know how much the cost of ownership is? Do you know how much a roof costs? Do you know what property taxes are? Do you know how much it costs to replace the driveway, the furnace, or any kitchen appliances? Are you buying a place just to be close to your current job? What happens if you get another job? Will you resell and move again? Do you know the costs of reselling every time you decide to relocate for a new job? Make sure to get all your ducks in a row and answer all these questions beforehand, before contacting a realtor, because the process can be hectic, overwhelming, and fast-paced. Step 2. Outline your current financial situation. Owning a house or condo is pricier than renting. There's a lot more cash coming out of your pocket. Every bank or major lender has an online calculator that lets you play around with the mortgage rates and mortgage principal to get a very accurate estimate of what your monthly mortgage payment will be. Choose an online calculator, enter your projected mortgage amount. If this monthly payment is too high, stop now because the costs only go up from here. You'll also need a down payment, but do you know how much you'll need? If you're buying under $500,000, you'll need 5%. So $25,000 max. But anything from $500,000 to $1 million, you'll need an additional 10% on top of that. If your house is $800,000, you'll need $25,000 plus $30,000, so $55,000 down payment total. If your house is $999,000, you'll need $75,000 down payment. Anything above $1 million, you'll need 20% flat. So if your house is $1,200,000, that's $240,000 just for the down payment. Then come the closing costs. Most cities and provinces have a land transfer tax. In Ontario, an $800,000 house will cost you $12,475 in land transfer tax. But if you're a first-time home buyer, you get an instant rebate of $4,000. But if you're in Toronto, the city has a surprise magical double tax. So on $800,000, you'll be paying $24,950 in land transfer tax. If you're a first-time home buyer, there's also a double rebate, so you'll get an instant rebate of $8,475. This land transfer tax must be paid up front. It can't be mortgaged. You have to pay it in cash or via bank draft. That throws a wrench in everyone's plans. Not a lot of people know how expensive the land transfer tax could be. $12,000, if you add it into your mortgage, might be $30 to $40 a month, which anyone can handle. But no, you're not allowed to mortgage it, you need the cash on hand. Also note, every province differs. In Alberta, there's no land transfer tax. In Vancouver, for the same $800,000 house, you'll pay $14,000 with no rebate. And also in Montreal, you'll pay $12,000 also with no rebate. Then come the lawyer fees, which aren't too bad. For a typical house purchase, you'll probably pay around $800 to $1,300, never pay any more than that. If you're purchasing a condo, you'll probably need to do a status certificate review, which adds another $500 on top of that. Step 3, understanding or fixing your credit. This is a slight repeat of my previous video, I know, but it still applies here. You should do a personal check of your credit score just to know where you're at. CMHC has recently increased the minimum credit score for a mortgage from 600 to 680. Which sounds like a lot, but then when you consider the fact that most Canadians have a score of 700 and above, it isn't too bad. If you have a lower credit score than 700, you should find out what's really been hurting you. Have you been missing payments? Is there an error? Do you have high credit card debt? A good credit score is the most important thing in the world until you have it, and then it's meaningless. A bad credit score means you won't get approved for a mortgage, but a good credit score doesn't mean you will get approved for a mortgage. Step 4, finding a lender and getting pre-approved. The easiest place to start is with your current bank. They might be able to provide you with the lowest rate. But keep in mind, the absolute lowest rate isn't always the best case for your scenario. An example, if you lock in 2.5% for 5 years, what if you decide to sell early? What if you decide to sell within 6 months? Do you owe them 4.5 years of interest? Make sure to ask, because some banks will only charge you a 3-month penalty, which isn't bad. But then some mortgages don't have this feature, and you'll probably owe them 4 or 5 years of interest. When shopping around for a mortgage, make sure to ask about the fixed rates, the variable rates, prepayment penalties. Are you able to make double up payments if you want? Are you able to put lump sum payments every year if you want? Try not to focus on just having the lowest rate possible. Keep in mind, a pre-approval is the maximum amount you'll be approved for. So use this as a ceiling and try to find for units under that maximum amount. Also, a pre-approval isn't a 100% guarantee they'll give you the mortgage. Every lender needs to see the property you're purchasing to make sure they're okay with the valuation and the loan to value ratio. If you put an offer for a house that's $500,000, the bank comes and does an appraisal, they determine it's only worth $400,000, 2 scenarios could happen. Either they reject your application completely, or they ask you to come up with the extra $100,000 to make up for the difference. Further complicating mortgages, if you have less than 20% down, you're considered high risk and you're required to get mortgage loan insurance. It basically is a payment to protect the bank against you defaulting on the mortgage. The smaller your down payment, the more expensive the mortgage insurance is. But what's good about this is that you have the option of paying it cash up front, or you can add it to your mortgage and pay it over the remaining 25 years. Step 5, finding a realtor. With over 60,000 realtors in Ontario alone, you have your pick of the litter. It's too easy to get your license. Everyone and their mother is a realtor. That being said, don't be pressured in going with your uncle, aunt, or cousin to purchase your house. If they only do it part-time, if they only have 1 sale a year, they might not have the experience, they might not be the right realtor for you. Find a realtor with experience. Ask about their past deals. Ask for client reviews. Don't be afraid to fire your realtor. If they try to pressure you into a quick sale, give them a warning or give them the boot. Don't sign something you're not comfortable with. Make sure your realtor is helping you find out the actual market value of the units you're offering on so you don't grossly overpay. Ask for examples of comparable units in your area that have previously sold. Figure out the details that make each unit unique and then try to determine what the market value of your unit is. You don't have to go with the realtor that advertises that they specialize in your desired area or neighborhood. That's just BS marketing or laziness because they don't want to drive an hour to show you a unit you're interested in. All realtors have access to the same information. Step 6, finding the location and the type of house you want to purchase. Obviously, we need to know how much we can afford first before we start looking. So make sure to get pre-approved so you can eliminate some expensive areas. I highly advise against choosing a location or buying a house just because it's close to your current job. People change their jobs frequently. Try not to change your house as often as you change your job. At this point, you need to determine your short-term or maybe medium-term needs. If you're single or a couple, you could get away with 1 or 2 bedrooms now. But if you're planning on having kids 3, 4, 5 years, why not look for 3 to 4 bedrooms instead? Furthering that point, are you searching for houses that are near public transit, near daycare, near elementary schools? These are all items you'll be dealing with in the short term. This is step 6.5. It's for touring properties. This is just a side comment, a sidebar discussion on something that's come up in real estate recently. A lot of people are doing virtual showings only. That means pictures and videos online only. They're not letting people into the houses to actually see it before they offer and purchase. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. You should never buy a house or condo without seeing it for yourself first. I know pre-construction units exist, but obviously it's impossible to see those. If the unit exists, you should go see it. What if you walk in and the floors are extremely squeaky and they shift under your weight? You're buying a new house. You walk in, the pictures look great, but all of a sudden the floors are uneven. You realize that while it looks good, it's not up to your standards. What about road noise? Let's say you view a unit online, it looks great, you show up, and all of a sudden you realize it's too close to a highway, it's too close to the road. All you hear is cars and noise. You wouldn't be able to tell that through a virtual showing. Also, keep in mind that the pictures that are posted are obviously taken to make the place look better. They're taking the nicest pictures, leaving the ugly areas out. They're taking angles to make it look bigger than it actually is. There might be a dungeon bathroom in the basement that you wouldn't know because it's not included on the listing online. You'd only know if you went physically to see it. Step 7, making an offer. This part gets complicated and stressful for first-time homebuyers. There's a lot of forms to sign. You have to determine when you want to take ownership, and you have to determine the offer price. Every province differs on how the deposit works. In Ontario, standard practice is to give 3 to 5% as a deposit when the offer is accepted. So if you're buying a house for $500,000, if your offer is accepted, you have 24 hours to give, let's say 5% or $25,000 to make the deal official. While making an offer, you'll also have to add in conditions. Make sure to add a 5-day financing condition so the bank can review your application and officially approve your mortgage. Ask your bank if they need an appraisal. You might need to add in a 5-day appraisal condition. If you're buying a house and it's not completely brand new, make sure to add a 5-day inspection condition. An inspection is where you give someone around $500 to give you bad news about the house. You need them to go through, look at the estimated life of the roof, they look at the windows, they look for any leaks, they tell you about the life of the furnace. If they do an inspection and there's a leak, that could cost you $10,000. If they do an inspection, they realize the furnace and the roof needs to be changed ASAP, that could cost you around $13,000. So you'll need to mentally add that. Let's say you're offering $500,000, there's an additional cost. You might need $515,000, $520,000. If you're buying a condo, skip the inspection and include a 5-day status certificate review instead. You'll need a lawyer to review the status certificate of a condo. This will give you insight into the financial health of the condo corporation. It'll tell you about the adequacy of the reserve fund and any potential litigation or lawsuits against the condo corp. Step 8, the final step, taking ownership. You submitted your offer, they've accepted, you gave your deposit. The work for you is pretty much done, except for shopping for furniture and making sure you don't spend your down payment. On closing day, your lender gives the money to the lawyer. You give your down payment to the lawyer along with any land transfer tax or CMHC insurance. Your lawyer takes all of these funds and pays the seller. They'll register the home in your name. This is transferring title to you and you'll get the deed and the keys to your new home. Congrats, you've just purchased your first home. I could have gone into more detail into the nuance of every purchase, every scenario, but since every province differs, I think it would have been too much for one video. Please check out my past videos on the Canadian housing market, as well as make sure to tune into my next video on selling your home. In the future, I'll also be creating a stock option series. I'll be breaking down how you can make additional consistent income with stock options. Hopefully, I'll be able to show you my option trades live on Questrade to show you that I practice what I preach and I actually can make consistent income with options. That's all for now.